Brought to you by SAP. SAP helps companies run like never before. Learn more by visiting us online.
Welcome back. You're watching Tech at Work, where we show you how your business is putting technology to work. I'm Nozi Pumbanjwa. Now, created in the spirit of TED's mission, Ideas Worth Spreading, the TEDx program is designed to give communities, organizations, and individuals the opportunity to stimulate dialogue through TED-like experiences at the local level. The latest TEDx offering on the African continent was Mogadishu, and Toby Shapshank recently chatted to organizer Nate Mook about the challenges in setting up the event, as well as the power of ideas in Africa.
You've all heard of TED.com, the really glorious conference that broadcasts its fascinating talks around the world. And a few years ago, it expanded into letting people organize their own events called TEDx. And we've had TEDx Johannesburg recently, TEDx Soweto, and they happen all around the world. But when TED wants to organize an event, or the community wants to organize an event in a far-off place, they call in someone who I like to think of as TEDx's Jason Bourne. And that's Nate Mook, a Washington, D.C. native, who's organized an incredible amount of events. TEDx Baghdad, TEDx Tripoli. Last year you did TEDx Mogadishu, and sometime in the near future you're going to be doing TEDx Mogadishu again. So you really are, to my mind, like some kind of TEDx special forces. I mean, they send you into the distant, far-off places where setting up some kind of event like this is not only difficult but quite hazardous. I mean, one of the problems about TEDx Mogadishu is we can't say the exact date so that, you know, none of the Al-Shabaab people get offended and try and do something to jeopardize it.
Indeed, it's you know, I think some of the events we worked on have been in very difficult situations, but you know, one of the key things that we sort of look at is the benefit that we can bring to these communities, and we come in as sort of supporting mechanisms. So in Mogadishu specifically, we're working with an amazing group of Somalis in the country's capital who are already doing amazing work on the ground. And I see TEDx more as a platform to share those stories. So, you know, our original goal was simply to find those individuals that are doing that incredible work and sort of surface them to the top, get their stories out there, their voices heard. And you know, when you look at it that way, the difficulties sometimes fall away, but it's definitely always a challenge from the organizational aspect, the technological limitations, especially in a place like Somalia. And
I mean, you were telling me that for TEDx Baghdad, for instance, you streamed it live so that Iraqi expats around the world would be able to watch it, and you do something similar with the forthcoming event.
Absolutely. You know, I think the live streaming capability and the ability to put it out there to the world is a really critical piece, because you're limited on the amount of people that you can have in the venue that will be watching it in person. So being able to broadcast it over the internet is really a central component to helping share those stories with the world. So in Baghdad, we had to set up an antenna on top of the Al Rashid Hotel beaming across the city. And we had, you know, well over 40 to 50,000 Iraqis from all over the world tuning in and watching the event. Mogadishu was a very similar situation. There's an amazing number of Somali diaspora communities all over the world, in the UK, in the US, really everywhere. And so this provided a way in to hear some of these incredible stories that are going on. But it was definitely a challenge, especially in a place like Mogadishu, where there's no internet lines there. There's no infrastructure, so everything is over satellite. But you know, I guess one of the amazing things that we've seen in Somalia is, as you've said, that necessity is the mother of invention, and a place that really hasn't had a functioning government, hasn't had functioning systems to develop infrastructure. The individuals, the Somali entrepreneurs have taken it upon themselves to build these things. And so, for example, in Mogadishu, you have wireless mesh networks that have been set up from various satellite dishes, sort of covering and providing Wi-Fi networks. You have even 3G mobile in some cases from the private sector, wireless companies that have been set up. And so, while it's not great, it still is pretty amazing, so we've been able to sort of leverage that work that these Somalis have done.
Great. Well, not Black Hawk Down, but something infinitely more uplifting and beneficial to the entire community. Thank you very much, Nate Mook, and keep up the good work. TEDx Mogadishu, soon enough you'll be doing something equally dangerous like TEDx Four Ways.
Don't forget to catch Tech Busters every Monday at 9:30 only on CNBC Africa. Now, business and IT is one of the most crucial aspects of businesses maintaining competitiveness and even gaining a competitive edge. But it often seems like IT speaks a completely different language to the rest of business. Space Age Solutions thinks that they found an answer to this in relevant IT. Thomas Maree caught up with Executive Director Chris Welham in Cape Town recently.
First of all, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. When talking about business and IT, it seems that there's a disconnect taking place there. Why have we traditionally seen such a disconnect between IT and business?
Because business people and IT people essentially talk different languages. They poles apart in many ways. And business don't understand the tech talk, the tech jargon. Technical people and the tech world doesn't exactly help things by having their own jargon and does not really open up to the business. So what's happened is the two have almost ended up drifting apart. What's really exacerbated it though is that over the ages or over the last few years, business has invested in IT because they've believed in the promise of IT and they haven't necessarily seen the results. And so there has been this perception over time by business that IT is not really adding the value that it promises to. And so business has lost faith in IT and drifted away from IT and tended to spend less and less on IT. And the IT people are starting to feel a little bit more isolated and kind of left out of the picture in a way. And that has resulted in quite a significant divide between the two.
Going forward, how can we bring IT and business closer together?
Well, it's a problem that we've identified many years ago, and we really didn't know how to solve it. And over the last 2 to 3 years, we have developed actually what we call relevant IT. In relevant IT, what we have tried to do is we've identified key capabilities that we believe businesses need to develop and mature in to be able to get the maximum value out of IT. And within each capability, we have set what we call a maturity level. And those maturity levels really represent the bottom to the top. Bottom being IT is a grudge purchase. It's something that you pay as little as possible. To IT is a platform provider, in other words, a provider of a platform that you can rely on and it runs all your business systems stably. To IT is helping you achieve certain business outcomes, like my example earlier with marketing. So marketing is leveraging IT and doing better, to the point where IT is helping the business differentiate and even transform. So those are the various levels in our model.
You touched on the fact that IT is often seen as a grudge purchase and that businesses try to spend as little as they can on this component of their business. Why is that? And it seems that IT suffers from this bad brand perception. How do we go about shifting that perception?
Well, the reason it exists, we feel, is largely because of the fact that IT has promised, and there has been this great belief that IT is going to bring all sorts of great value to a business, and it hasn't necessarily turned out that way. So the belief and trust in the business to spend more money on IT so that they get better value in their business has actually waned. So that is why it's become a grudge purchase. It's only in companies where business people are often more technically savvy and they see the opportunities for IT where they're prepared to spend more money. So we need to create a framework where we can actually bridge that gap, where you don't have people in business leadership positions who understand IT, and you have IT people in the business who don't necessarily understand business. And so our framework is to try and bring those two together over time.
How should business go about measuring the value that their IT resources deliver?
That is something that has almost never been done. properly. The typical measurement is server uptime. So if IT is asked how well are they doing in the business, they often quote, well, the servers have been up 99% of the time. But how much does that really translate to business value? And so that is actually one of the key capabilities we've identified, is actually how does IT measure itself in the business? And that is one of the areas in our model that we address. And as one goes through the various stages of maturity, there are different aspects that you would want to measure.
On that note, Chris, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.